Hey everyone, Irene, Lyon here. Welcome to this channel. Thank you for being here. If you are brand new here, thanks for popping by. Be sure to subscribe and check out all my other content here. There's a lot to go through in terms of healing trauma, working at the somatic level, taking advantage of this thing called neuroplasticity. So I'll let you check that out in your own time. Today, I wanted to re-release a video that I posted and created 6 years ago, which is tough to believe. It was back in 2018. And I was inspired to create this video. It's called The Story of Teddy, and one we just reposted the other week called The Story of Ryan. So be sure to look for that, and we'll link it near this video so that you can watch that as well. I wanted to reshare these videos because the stories within them really display and prove evidence that what happens to us when we're young creates what happens to us or what we do in the future. In this case, the story of Teddy is about Ted Kaczynski. I won't go into who that is because I get into that in this video that I'm resharing. But this story, this knowledge that we know now, that we are not born evil and wanting to hurt other people. What occurs to us in utero and transgenerationally and when we're infants and toddlers, it impacts how we are in the world, how we see the world, and how we move through the world. And it's just a great story, tragic, I will add, but a good story to depict this concept of why we so desperately need nervous system regulation and trauma-informed medical interventions so that no future children have to go through what this little guy had to go through when he was young, and then of course the consequences that came after this. So have a watch, have a listen, and please leave a comment, ask questions if you have any. Hey friends, it's Irene here. Welcome to this video, or welcome to this channel, welcome to wherever you are watching this right now. And I want to tell you some stories today. And the stories paint a very important picture around why human beings harm other human beings. I am of the firm belief that nobody is born evil, nobody is born wanting to harm others. I think if we really look at the facts and science and how human development occurs, we'll start to see a different picture. So I really want to start talking about this other picture because I'm getting a lot of questions through my various feeds asking why do people harm? Why do people hate? Why do people, do things that seem absolutely atrocious? And here's the thing, I think that we deeply, deeply need to understand what creates a human being, what creates safety and connection. So I've got two books here. One is from Dr. Peter Levine. It is called Trauma Through a Child's Eyes. The other one is Born for Love. This is written by Dr. Bruce Perry. These are both two leading experts in the fields of mental health, trauma, healing trauma. I won't give you their full background. You can go look them up, and I'll post those links somewhere near this video if you're on the YouTube, on the Show More section. Okay, so I want to read you a passage from Peter Levine's book, and it goes into what we might consider to be something that might not seem that big a deal, but stick with me so that you get to the end point of this. So this is, again, just to reference, Peter Levine and Maggie Kline co-wrote the book Trauma Through a Child's Eyes. This is chapter 7, Prevention Tools for Parents and Health Professionals. So this is the story of Teddy. And believe it or not, that most of us might know who this person is. So he writes, on Teddy's 5th birthday, the family pediatrician and lifelong friend came for a visit. The whole clan gathered around the doctor as he proudly showed them a photograph he had taken at the local hospital of baby Teddy at 9 months. The boy took a brief look at the picture and then ran wildly from the room, screaming in rage and terror. How many parents, teachers, babysitters, and healthcare providers have witnessed similar mysterious reactions in children? Okay, so just quick review. this doctor came over to this family's home, showed little Teddy a picture of him when he was a 9-month-old baby in the hospital. The kid freaked out. It was scary. It produced a visceral reaction, all right? And at 9 months, there's no cognitive memory of what was going on. But the body knows, the somatic self knows. This is why I'm recounting this story, so stick with me. He goes on to write, at 9 months of age, Teddy developed a severe rash that covered his entire body. He was taken to the local hospital and strapped down to a pediatric examination table. While being poked and prodded by a team of specialists, the immobilized child screamed in terror under the glaring lights. Following the exam, he was placed in isolation for 7 days. Just think about that, a newborn baby in isolation for 7 days. When his mother, who had not been allowed to see him for over a week, arrived at the hospital to bring him home, Teddy did not recognize her. She claims that the boy never again connected with her or any other family member. He did not bond with other children, grew increasingly isolated, and began living in a world of his own. Though by no means the only factor, the hospital trauma experienced by 9-month-old Teddy was an important, possibly critical component in the shaping of Ted Kaczynski, the convicted Unabomber, who sent letter bombs to various people in technology and wielding corporate power, arguably his revenge against the same dehumanizing forces that overwhelmed and broke him as an infant. So again, this is a true story. And Peter Levine, again, somatic experiencing founder, what I am trained and what I have studied and what I practice, he interviewed the mother of Ted Kaczynski after the fact, after he was found and arrested. And this shows, as she recounts, after that medical procedure at 9 months old, he never bonded with her again, never connected, he was never the same. If you follow his story, and there's actually some beautifully done films on Netflix on his story and the back end of the story, what happened to him as a child and in university. He was also subjected to government tests that tried to break him and crack him so that they could test new interrogation procedures on people. This all happened before he started basically doing very, very horrible things to the American people by sending bombs in the mail. Okay, I know that was a lot. But you see, this is part of why I believe humans deep down are not born wanting to do this. Something occurs to us, some kind of traumatic event. It doesn't have to be a mother or a father beating us and abusing us. It doesn't have to be being in a war zone. It doesn't have to be massive bullying. It could be something so benign, even though it's not, as going to the hospital, being treated, and not being properly connected with and cared for. At that age of 9 months, and I'm going to post some videos down below where I go into the development of infants and how they need to have connection. They have to have co-regulation. If they are put in isolation like that, they dip into the third F of our survival response, which is freeze. So, right, there's fight, flight, and freeze. I can guarantee you when he was a child, when he was an infant, and he went into that hospital, he was crying and screaming and wailing and putting up a fuss, as you would be if you were to be strapped down with a horrific rash for 7 days and stripped from your people. So the way that we, as physiological human beings, survive is we then go into shutdown. We go into kind of a hibernation mode. We have to numb out the pain, but also the fact that there is no one there. And so when that occurs early on, and we don't do anything to treat that early trauma, which we know how to do now, but back then, and even now, it's very unknown that you can treat this. What happens, that little one continues to live, but its behaviors and its ways of being are not empathetic. There's a breach in that capacity to connect and see other humans for who they are. He was harmed immeasurably in probably that hospital to keep him alive, but he didn't know that. There was no cognitive knowing. So I hope that's given just a little insight into one of the reasons why people might end up doing things that we can't understand. And it's because somewhere along the line, something has breached our sense of safety, something has breached our sense of trust for humanity in general. Because remember, 9 months old, you don't know who these people are. You know your mother, maybe if you have a close sibling, maybe a father, but imagine a strange environment where there are people over you, treating you, poking you and prodding you, and then no one's there. Isolation. And isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting that now, where is Theodore Kaczynski? If you know his story, he is in solitary confinement. So if we go deeper, and I'll go deeper just a tiny bit, we now know that the human system stores memory. It stores traumatic memory, such as this, such as being strapped down, not being able to break free and have connection. And so what occurs is that over our lifetime, we put ourselves into situations that might be horrific and not good for us and will harm other people as a way, as a means to try to complete and heal that trauma. If you do like shows, TV shows, this is a Netflix show that I mentioned at the beginning of this video. It's called Manhunt. It depicts and shows the agent that was able to find Theodore Kaczynski through the way that he wrote, through the way that he articulated his words. It's quite a fascinating story. But when you watch that story with the knowledge I've just shared with you about his early exposure to trauma when he was a 9-month-old baby, you see through childhood and teenage yearhood and when he gets into university that this trauma follows him. It follows him all the way till his adult years when he was arrested. He was put through some pretty severe experimentation tactics at university that they would be in this day and age completely illegal and unethical, but it was actually the government who was testing interrogation techniques, and they were able to get him because this poor kid had no empathy, he had no friends, and so they could exploit him. So I know this is a bit of a strange thing to talk about and teach you guys, but like I said, these are the stories that are kind of buried deep in these books that my teachers talk about because they've gone into the field and interviewed the perpetrators, the mother of perpetrators, and really gotten to know what happened, what occurred to make it such that this person would want to harm other people. All right, take good care. Let this sort of trickle in and sink in the way that it has to for you. I believe that it is very, very important to know these stories. Otherwise, we make assumptions about those who we see in media who are doing harmful things. At the end of the day, like I said, I believe we are not born wanting to hurt others. And in order for us to heal where we're at right now in society, we got to know the stories, we got to understand the biology, and we have to do our own personal work. Take good care. We will see you next time.